Hello everyone and welcome back to this brand new video. Today is an amazing day. Today is a great day to be a Magic player because they finally banned the annoying cards in Standard. Now I'm pretty sure that all of us are very happy, so this video is gonna be me sharing my thoughts with all of you about the upcoming ban and just celebrating this ban with all of you because I'm pretty sure that all of us are very happy, so let's get right into this video. Now, all of these bans might fix Standard, and very big emphasis on might because you never know what top deck might arise. But for now, I'm going to give you my thoughts on why each of the cards were banned, although some of them are very obvious, but it's always nice to share your thoughts with other maybe new players that don't see exactly the problem with these cards. So Cauldron Familiar was a very interesting ban for me because I don't think this card was banned because the deck was too good. It's very obvious that it's not. Now this might be for two reasons. Either one, because it's very annoying to be played against. Now that's the whole play pattern issue. Now why is that? Because it's very boring to see your opponent every single end step just tap his oven, sacrifice his Cauldron Familiar, sack the Cauldron Familiar, sack the food to get back the Cauldron Familiar. That's very annoying to play against. So that might be the reason, and Wizards banned previously cards for just being annoying to play against and very annoying play patterns. Or they might have actually tested, although I very highly doubt this, they tested that like the meta post bans, and they think that Junt Sacrifice would be way too oppressive, and they thought that it's a good idea to ban it. So these are one of the two reasons that I have in mind. Now Growth Spiral and Reclamation were making the meta very linear, and the problem with Growth Spiral exactly is that it kind of opposes everything ramp is, in that it also draws you a card in addition to ramping. Now usually the problem with ramp cards is that they just represent an additional land. Like for example, think of Rampant Growth. It gets a land from your deck to the field directly and puts it tapped. But Spiral actually cycles itself. And why is that good? Because the problem with ramp decks usually is that they either draw way too many lands, or they draw, way too many lands, way too many ramp spells, or they draw into their big payoffs. And Growth Spiral kind of fixes that whole problem. Because in case you draw it late game, you can just cycle it and get into a big payoff, and that's I think the main reason that it was banned, and also because it was making Standard very linear. I mean, people were playing Mystical Dispute main board just to stop this on turn 2, and it was making the meta way too fast. It was making Standard a turn 5, turn 6 win, and sometimes even a turn 4 win depending on how lucky you are with your draws, and that's simply not something that you would want to advocate in a Standard format. Now Wilderness Reclamation had the same problem with Fires of Invention in that it was essentially doubling your mana on the same turn. So you would literally go Growth Spiral, put a land, Reclamation, and you directly go from 4 mana per turn to 8 mana per turn. You essentially doubled your mana in the span of one turn, and that's not something you would want in a Standard meta once again. Now Teferi Time Traveler, you all know me, you all know that I love playing Control and I love playing Teferi in Jank decks because when you play Teferi in Jank decks, you're basically guaranteed that your Jank deck will not be interacted with. But we all have to agree that this card is way too oppressive. Whether that is plus until your opponent's turn, you can cast things with Flash. So you could basically board wipe on your opponent's turn, Thought Erasure people on their turn. That was not fun to interact with. And the second part, just being able to shut down completely another deck when this resolved. Like for example, when you're playing against Simic Flash and you resolve this, the game is usually over most of the time because they simply can't interact with this. So that's not a fun card. It's not good that a single card is shutting down an entire archetype. And funny enough, Wizards admitted that they only kept the Teferi Time Traveler in the format because it was keeping Reclamation in check. And I think they should have banned these two a long time ago. And the good thing with the Teferi is that it also minuses on the same, it can bounce something on the same turn. So it can basically protect itself, time walk your opponent in case you're playing against a creature deck, or you could also bounce your own valuable things. Like for example, you can bounce your Oath of Kaya, you could bounce your Omen of the Sea, you could bounce Yorion. I'm pretty sure that this card was way too oppressive to be in a Standard, and I'm very happy that this was banned. So enough of me talking about why all of these got banned. Am I happy about these bans? Of course I am. And what do I think will be the next decks in the format? Let's discuss it right away, and I will be playing some of them in my video today, and in the upcoming week we will be focusing on post-ban Standard. Now what do I think will be good? Let's dive right into that, and I'm gonna try to at least show you what I think will be good as we're going about that. So Simic Ramp is now going to be very good. Now why do I think that way? Let's go first of all to the main card I like in this deck, which is Frilled Mystic. So if you reach Field Mystic, he's a 4 mana essentially counter spell that also gives you a creature in play. Now why am I saying that this deck is going to be very good? Because Field Mystic is a very insane card in my opinion, and it's one of the main cards that I like in Magic. So why is Simic Flash now very good? Because first of all, people are going to be running way less Mystical Dispute on main board, at least for now, because Growth Spiral is not a thing, and Teferi is not a thing. And pre-ban, like pre all of this, I remember in LJN when Simic Flash was a very good deck, and I see the same environment currently. So this card will come back to haunt all of us, and this deck is gonna come back, and I'm very, very happy about it. So what makes Simic Flash a very good deck? It has a lot of good matchups versus most mid-range decks, having Spectre Sailor to grind out card value, having Quench, having your 2-1 that keeps on growing, I think his name is Cutthroat, that's very good. And having Field Mystic as a top of the curve kind of tempo card is insane. So I'm pretty sure that we're going to be seeing a lot of Simic Flash in the upcoming days. Now, Mono Red is obviously going to come back, and Mono Red is going to probably benefit the most from Embercleave. Now, the very cool thing about the ban is that Teferi sometimes was able to shut down Embercleave because people would not be able to flash it again. So now people can actually flash in their Embercleave all over again, and I'm not happy about Mono Red being meta. We all know how much I hate Mono Red, but I'm pretty sure that we're gonna have to expect a lot of Mono Red in the upcoming days. Blue-White Control is also gonna come back. Now, you think it's a bit ironic that we're gonna have, let's just put white, that we're gonna have Simic Flash and Blue-White Control in the same meta, but hear me out. Mono Red usually crushes Simic Flash. Now, I'm not saying the matchup is not unwinnable. There's no unwinnable Magic matchup, but most of the time Mono Red is very good against Simic Flash. Alright, so Simic Flash might actually not appear as much as I'm expecting it to if Mono Red becomes a very big thing, or like aggro decks become a very big thing. If that's the case, Blue-White Control actually dominates on like exactly Mono Red strategies, and a card I'm expecting to be good in the format is Elspeth Conquers Death. Now, obviously not against Mono Red because usually they play small creatures, but against any mid-range deck, Elspeth Conquers Death is quite insane, and I'm very happy to see that this card is back. Especially that you can't bounce it again with Teferi and then keep on looping it, so it becomes a bit, and I mean a bit more fair. Now, what else is coming back? This is a very controversial thing from my side, but I think that Teamer Adventures with the addition of Lucky Clover is definitely coming back. Now, one thing I forgot to cover with Control, and let me cover it while we're talking, is that you can actually now run counter spells again. You can actually play Absorb and not be afraid to tap out on turn 3 because they would just spam a Teferi on the field and win that way. You can finally run counter spells again. So like you can run Absorb, and the card I'm most happy about, because I think it's a card that did not shine, is Commence the Endgame. Now, why is that? Commence the Endgame was obviously stopped by Teferi because one, it would stop you from being able to hold it up and flash it at end step, and also Teferi would just be played, bounce the token, and kind of just ruin your card. You just paid 6 mana to draw 2, you obviously don't want that. But now if Blue-White Control becomes a very good deck, this card is actually good against it and good with it, because you have a draw spell that also doubles up as your win con. So I'm very happy about all of that. Now let's go into the third deck I think will be back, Lucky Clover, or like Teamer Adventures. Now why is that? If Blue-White Control comes back to the meta, Teamer Adventures is actually a very good deck against them, because they simply can't keep up with the value that you have, whether that is with your Lucky Clover card, or there's a one job that says whenever you cast an adventure spell you draw a card, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, Edgewalling Keeper. Both of these makes it very hard for Blue-White Control to keep up, so you definitely have to expect that Teamer Adventures is going to be back on the menu, and you're going to have to be very happy about that. Now, what else I'm expecting to be meta, and I think I'm going to end the video with it: Venerated Loxodon, and especially Mono White Weenies. Now, why is that? Once again, it's very good against Simic Flash because Simic Flash can't keep up with a swarm of creatures, and it also is very fast, so it can stop a lot of mid-range decks that I'm expecting to come back, and it can stop a lot of the annoying strategies that are like Control or like very greedy strategies, so it puts a hold on them and stops them. Now, one thing I want to emphasize on is that Uro currently actually benefited a lot from the bans, because Uro is now, or like might be, one of the best cards in Standard. Now sometimes Uru was a problem because people had Mystical Dispute and Aether Ghost, so they would either Ghost it or Mystical Dispute it. Now with less and less copies of Mystical Dispute and Aether Ghost in the main board, Uru might actually be crazy. And Uru couples up with a very interesting deck list I have in mind, which is Simic Draw 2. Now Simic Draw 2 is interesting because they have Jordael, they have Uru, and they have that three mana elf that draws a card. If I'm not wrong, his name is alright, so that's not the card that I have in mind. Let's see if we find it this way. Let's see if we find it this way. Enters the battlefield. So I'm sorry for this, but I completely forgot about this name. He's like, alright, so it's still not here, Let's be more specific and show them Corsa 2021. Alright, so it's Llanowar Visionary. So now we have your Jordael on turn 2, Llanowar Visionary or Uru to draw a second card on turn 3 and consistently get another 2/2, which is simply insane against mono red. And you have now turn 4 Teferi. So you could play the new Teferi, the not banned Teferi, obviously. I mean, why is there no Planeswalker Teferi? I have no idea. Let's just put Planeswalker. Alright, so that's very weird. There should be a Teferi somewhere here and they're not showing it. Let's try it this way. Teferi. Alright, so they just simply don't want to show it. I'm pretty sure I have it collected. Alright, that feels very weird. So the new Teferi, the one that you can activate at instant speed and that draws a card and then discards a card. That card could be very, very good in that shell, and I'm expecting Simic Draw 2 to kind of come back to the meta or like show up more. Now, is this a theory of mine? Yes. All of the other ones, I'm pretty sure about everything I said, but the Simic thing, it's still controversial and I'm not sure about it. I don't want to make this video way too long. I'm pretty sure all of us are very happy with the bans. I know you're happy. I know I'm happy. And with that, I wanted to end the video, but before signing off, I wanted to ask you to please subscribe because it helps the channel a lot. And before signing off, I wanted to thank my patrons because they are the ones making my content possible. And a huge shout out to I am Mark Mac. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.